Parts of the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness reopened for day use today after nearly 2 weeks of closure due to the ongoing wildfires. Those wildfires have devastated more than 70,000 acres of forest in the United States and Canada. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz was in Ely this morning, where he gave an update on the fires up north.
These fires have been and continue to be in unified command between the Forest Service and the Minnesota DNR. We have ordered in the complex incident management teams that are in command of the fire for both the July lightning incident. They are about to time out later this week, and we've ordered a replacement complex incident management team that will take over for them. We also have a national incident management organization that is managing the Little Knife fire over in Cook and Lake County on the far end of the Gunflint Trail. That is also a team that is transitioning out, and a new team as a part of that national incident management organization will be taking command of that fire as well. As Shane noted, there are suppression actions on all of these fires that are taking place, working towards containment. There was good news announced yesterday related to these fires, related to lowering of evacuation levels, dropping some of the closures, especially in the Fernburg corridor area. That closure was lifted, those levels were dropped. There were new announcements related to the Cloquet line and the Echo Trail and those evacuation levels that were associated with that as well. As we go into other updates related to the Forest Service, the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness closure today took effect that there was day use permits allowed in the eastern part of the wilderness area in Cook County. We are still considering a proposal to open up for overnight paddle permits starting on Thursday. There will be an expected announcement later today with that final decision for that Thursday announcement. And we assess this on a daily basis of are there further opportunities for reductions in the closure area, both inside the wilderness and the associated fire areas outside the wilderness where there are closures on National Forest System lands.
Already, there's some good news since we were last here with respect to the evacuations and looking ahead at openings and looking at further containment of these fires. One of the things I want to stress is you heard from those who are commanding the suppression efforts here. This is a large-scale event. And Minnesotans, I think, can be rest assured that in Minnesota, it's not just the DNR. You've heard a lot about the collaboration, the unified command. We in Minnesota have a very sophisticated, a very well established, a very well coordinated interagency system to respond to wildfire. That allows us to stand up quickly, and it allows us to scale up quickly. So when this fire started on the 6th, you saw a lot of spread really quickly. The response efforts mirrored that fire spread. All of a sudden, we were able to mobilize a lot of resources here in the Ely community. We were able to mobilize resources on the Little Knife fire around the Gunflint Trail. And that's really important because it allows us to have made the progress that you see here today. And it ensures that we have results like no injuries, no loss of life, no major loss of property. And I'll note that in this case, that ability to scale to the fire quickly was really important because we were dealing with really challenging conditions for firefighters here. We had extreme heat, we had winds, we have very remote areas, we have very dry conditions that allow this scaling up, and this coordinated effort allows us to be able to respond in those conditions. So this system, the Minnesota Incident Command System, or MINICS, that is the backbone of the system here in Minnesota. It means it's a federal, state, tribal, local partnership. So we're able to bring resources everywhere, and the mayor's going to talk about the local efforts here in a moment, to the Minnesota DNR, Department of Public Safety, National Guard, to the Forest Service, and bring those resources, as you heard, from the southern U.S. I think this incident really is an example of why MINICS exists and how important it is to the state of Minnesota. And I think what I would just leave you all with is it doesn't just stand up the day a fire starts. This is a system that has existed for a long time. Those relationships are built over time, so you're not building relationships in the moment of the emergency, but you've built them over time when there is not an emergency. We train together and we respond together. And I think that was very evident when we were here last week with General Mankey from the National Guard, and we stood in the field with a lot of the folks who were responding. And over, they emphasized the importance of training together so that they could respond effectively together. And I'm really grateful to all of the folks who have responded, from state, local, federal agencies, for that work, not just on this incident, but for the pre-work to establish those relationships, to build the training, and then to be here delivering the results on the ground. I also want to say thank you to the communities. Mayor, your support, the support of the communities on the Gunflint Trail, not only in the response, but in paying close attention to the safety messages, because complying with the messages around fire burning bans, complying with orders around evacuation is so incredibly important in the moment to not only protect our firefighters, but to protect the people in these communities too. So big shout out to the communities too.
First off, I'd like to thank all the agencies that have helped Ely continue to stay safe. I couldn't even begin to start thanking all of them. I'm a teacher, and we have a lot of alphabet soup in our jargon, and I couldn't even begin to start at every level thanking everyone by name, by identification, by anything. And I humbly would like to thank every single person, every agency that continues not only to keep Ely safe, but the area safe. It is awe-inspiring and amazing. Next, I'd like to thank everybody in Ely and the surrounding area who actually listened, which is quite a feat in Ely, actually. They have continued to be patient. They have continued to listen, and I truly appreciate that, which is really hard to do when you are not quite certain not only what the next hour will bring, but what the next day will bring. And thank you for the media to continue to pump out that message that Ely is open. We continue to be open. We don't know what the future brings for us. There has been some economic downturn because of what is going on right now. You may not be able to quite get the Boundary Waters experience that you want, but there are a lot of other things you can do. And I am sure I will be leaning on our representative and our governor to help us move forward with that. I truly appreciate Representative Scraba and Senator Hochschild for having a wonderful economic roundtable discussion for us last week, so some of our businesses can really figure out what to do next. And that will be our challenge in Ely, and I'm going to be leaning on everybody who loves Ely to help us move forward.
First, I want to thank the governor for calling a peacetime emergency. No one else was moving, and the state stepped up, did it right. We're in a great place right now. As a former mayor of Ely, I sent our whole council to incident command school to learn how it works. You know, not just me, the mayor, but I wanted everyone to understand how it works. Because once you understand how it works, it truly is flawless. You can find any weaknesses right away and fix them right away. And generally they've been worked out before. So I thank all the crews that are here helping, going through the system. Obviously, this fires has not done what it's supposed to do. I listen to the meteorological almost every day, and I'm like, hey guys, you got it wrong again. We got rain. We're getting rain. We're getting a wet woods out there. And the other night when I can't remember, it was a play. I think I got done at the play at the college, and I walked outside, and it's raining, and the rain is at a 90, and I go, look at this. God created the fire hose, a natural one, putting these fires out, helping. Obviously, it won't put it all out, but it'll slow it down. It'll dampen it. And that's encouraging because the Forest Service has a task of reopening the boundary waters. And I'm hoping that the weather, the teams, everyone working together, we can open this boundary water sooner than later. We've all been told, wait for the snow. I think we put a pretty good hammer on it. I'm watching the crews, the different crews, and the weather that's been given to us. Again, keep praying. They're working. They're definitely working. We have an advantage. And more than anything right now, I get calls. This morning was one of the reasons I'm late. I had 3 different business calls from business people. Like what's happening, what's going on. When we lifted the Ready, Set, Go back, now some of the resorts are open and people getting to them. Some of them are right on the line, on the BWCA line, and they can get customers, but they can't go anywhere because they can't get out. So I'm hoping that we can all work together and look at some of these businesses and look at some of these lakes. Like if you can't get too far away. And again, I spoke to this before about the inherent risk of wilderness. I'm a guide, I do this for a living, I go up there. I calculate every move I make when I make it, and sometimes tourists just kind of love it and just go along and they get themselves in a spot where they can't get out. Now you have to be extra vigilant what you're doing and where you're going. So I'm hoping that we can find a way to open it up sooner than later. And I'm fully aware of the safety issues and all that, but right now we're going on week 3. That's going to be hard. I believe if we can open it up, the 2 weeks that we've suffered can be made up in August because the people have been phenomenal. This weekend we had a Blueberry Arts Festival of sorts. It was canceled in Ely, and some of the communities around and in Ely had a booth, and people came up by word of mouth and used the Blueberry Loop. That's what they called it. And they went to these different communities. And it's a positive that came from a negative. And I think we're pretty resilient. We can do that. Again, when we partner together, we all work together. This thing, we have nothing but success to look forward to. So I look forward to working with the governor and what our next move is, whether it's a special session, whether what we do next, how Senator Hochschild and I try to work out we will work out an economic development package. We're just trying to figure out how, where, and how much, and who's going to be involved, those sort of things. But we are working on it. We're communicating constantly. I look, again, the sooner we open it up, the less we have to worry about that, and people can start using the wilderness again.
Between you and Senator Hochschild, we're very blessed. We've got great expertise in here. You're in great communication. The folks know you, and that helps in that coordination. To Mayor, thank you. I'm up here today, and then you're hearing from each and every one of these folks. There is a plan in place with the professionals you heard from. To Shane, Tom, Paul, thank you all. Commissioners, thank you for that. We don't need to reinvent the wheel on this, but it does take this coordination. It does take this collaboration. And I'm up here a special thank you. These things start locally. They're managed locally. And then when they get to the point where they need state assistance, we get state and county assistance, and then we move to federal, and in some cases like this one, internationally. But I just want to say the rest of the state of Minnesota is with you up here. We're watching these. The world knows, and I will make the case, there are a few places on this planet as beautiful and as special as this, welcoming. I have over many, many years been welcomed in and got out on the different lakes and get yourself out there and create memories with your family, and that's a really important thing. So a huge thank you to the folks up here who've gone through this. I do want to give a special thank you. When the orders to evacuate happened, I cannot imagine how difficult that is. This is your property, this is your life, this is everything, and you're being asked to leave it behind to the unknown, and folks up here are doing that with an understanding. It allows the professionals to do what they need to do to protect that property and to not put themselves at risk. And I can't say enough about our federal cooperation. The federal partners have been just absolutely fantastic. The folks in the Forest Service and our firefighters are the best in the world. They do their job. I'd also like to give a thank you, and we're in constant communication with our friends in Manitoba, with Premier Canoe, and I've spoken several times with Premier Ford in Ontario of helping us, and they were helping on some of the rescues. But we're in this together. That I'm a geographer. That's a line on the map. That doesn't, not a line on the earth. And these things work together, and they have to work together, especially at a time like this. So I know as we're triaging it and you're hearing it, I think that is an important message. We're open for business. You can listen to the guidance. We can stay out of the way of the folks that are doing the fight and still make sure that we're doing the things that we want to do. Coming up here is what people look forward to all year, and the folks who are up here make a big chunk of their money during these summer months that are really important. So hearing that we've got some day paddles going, that we may have a broader decision on overnights on Thursday, we know that those decisions will be based first and foremost on safety and then that consideration. So the way, and you're hearing us talk about it, triaging this, protecting life, protecting property, containing the fires, but we simultaneously do need to plan for what this looks like. I again will thank the legislators. I think you'll hear me say this every time it's flooding or anything else that happens. Minnesota's disaster contingency account is the envy of the nation. If we do not reach thresholds for federal assistance, we have a pool of money that is meant to help cities and counties rebuild their infrastructure, rebuild some of the things they need to do, because this is truly a case of all Minnesotans are in this. This is a place where folks down in Worthington want to help out with the fires up here, because sooner or later they're going to be involved in this. So really grateful for that. And as you heard Representative Straba say, I have the ability to call a peacetime emergency after 5 days. That is voted on by the Executive Council, consisting of the Lieutenant Governor, the Attorney General, the Secretary of State, and the State Auditor. That will extend for 30 days. At that time, and that would be August 11th, should this peacetime emergency need to be extended for different things that we have, and things like deploying the National Guard are somewhat of a gray area, but I think including the legislature in this is obviously what the law says. It's exactly what we'll do. I also think it gives us an opportunity to what these two leaders did last week, start setting the groundwork for what an economic recovery package would look like. And I don't know if we're going to need to extend that at this time, but should we get to August 11th, we will talk together amongst leadership about what a special session negotiations will look like. I will just say from my perspective, if there is a special session, it should focus on the fire and the recovery of northern Minnesota, and that's it. And you can do more work next year when you come back. And I think that keeps us focused on what needs to be done. It keeps a lot of the things that are important issues, but it's not the issue that we're talking about here. So again, a huge thank you. Thank you to all of the volunteers. We're going to go visit some of these folks that are out there helping to rebuild, helping to provide meals. But just understand that the state is with you. We're watching this. I have to say this too, and listening to each one of these, when we were first opened up the Emergency Operations Center 3 weeks ago, a little more pessimistic, and I think we've gotten some good weather breaks a little bit, but I don't think we should underestimate. We have got incredible folks out there that have made this happen. That includes the folks in this community that have evacuated, helped their neighbors, but our first responders, our firefighters. At this point in time of fire of this magnitude, in the heat that we're dealing with, the unpredictable nature of it, to not have any serious injuries is a testament to the planning. It's a testament to looking out for one another. So we're in a better spot. We're not done with this yet. I think what all of us need to recognize, and this is a broader, longer conversation, we're probably entering our new norm with, I mean, we were talking about this, 104 degrees in Ely. Is something none of us have ever seen. 110 heat index down in the Twin Cities this weekend. Many of us were talking about you couldn't see out of our houses this morning because the dew point was a record dew point that we saw. And we saw air quality up here in Duluth last week that was worse than New Delhi, India. And those are all things that we're going to have to feel out. How do we all collectively work together? The good news is that this is one issue that binds us. There is not a political, it's apolitical as you can possibly get. Protecting our neighbors, protecting our natural resources, protecting our economic growth, and this is one that we'll get right. So it's my public service reminder to all of the local communities, the mayors are here and all of this, keep every receipt for everything you're doing, every bit of overtime for all the folks that are there, your equipment that is going to have to be reconstituted that gets lost, all of that is potentially helped by either federal or state help. And what I say about this is you generate not only great opportunities for people, you generate economic growth for the state. Folks across the state are more than willing at this point in time to help you out here. And I think by keeping all those, we can try and make folks as whole as we can at the end of this. I think that's I think that's something I feel incredibly positive about. But at this time, we'd be glad to take some questions. I may have to ask my experts to come back up if we've got some specifics on where we're at, but would be glad to take questions. And I will echo the mayor. Thank you all for covering this. I think at a time of great confusion, our biggest fear is rumors and false information. So it's really, really important that all of you are getting that out, and we're hearing it from trusted news sources, from trusted experts that can get that out. And it feels to me up here that has really, really worked well. So be glad to take some questions.
Governor, do you know how soon you would need to call a special session to give lawmakers the time they need to get back to St. Paul next month?
Yeah, our team is working on that, and we're starting to bring it up. I think they need a little bit of time. You've got folks that are out of town. They got jobs. They're doing things. That's why I'm telegraphing a bit here that the potential is there that we may need to do this. We were just mentioning today our general counsels. I said, does that mean the 11th or the 12th? What happens with this? What is the authority for the guard that I can use executive orders to use them to a certain degree, but we don't want to break the coordination. So I think we're already thinking about it. We're in that planning stage. I haven't spoken directly with Senator House leadership other than just last week when I said, start thinking about this. I think we may need to come back to you. Again, this is just, I'm one leg of that negotiation stool. But I would just really encourage us. I know anytime we go to a special session, everybody wants to bring their bills up and everybody wants to talk about things. And we're in just to be candid with all of you, a bit of a precarious time where people are concerned about their elections, which they should be. That's what they're doing on that. That puts us right on primary day. It puts us right in the middle of that. So we're thinking about it now. We'll work it out, and that will be done, and there will be an agreement before we go in on what we're going to talk about, what we're going to do. But I will just say from my perspective again, I think it's really important for us to keep this narrowly focused to the fires and the recovery of northern Minnesota and not try and add anything else to that special session. I don't think that would be appropriate, but that's a negotiation that will have to happen. So hopefully by a few days before that, we're giving people a heads up. But I'm telegraphing to them, I would think you might be in session on the 12th of August potentially.
I guess this is for anybody, but just to have this little bit of positivity, this saying like, hey, we got some rain, it's not going to kill all the fires, but it's going to dampen them. How much of a breath of a fresh air, literally and figuratively, I guess, is that?
I'm going to let some of these folks who are working 20-hour days and getting no sleep answer that. So.
All right. Yeah, good question. Talking about the rain that we're starting to see and what effects that has on the fire. So yeah, that is a welcomed help. But I want to stress there's a lot of this fire perimeter. When you look at the map here, you see just a red footprint here. This area with interior of these fires are very mosaic. When I say mosaic, there's some real intense patches where the fire made a lot of intense runs, a lot of intensity that came out. Then there's also, we have this patchy framework throughout the fires where there's still a lot of that available fuel that's still out there to where the fire has receptive fuel that it can move. The challenge is here is the amount of duff layer. When I say duff layer, it's the organic material that's down in the soil. That is super, super dry. So when the fire you don't see smoke for days, the fire's still there. It's still down in the ground. And as we get, and I'll use this term, if it's not raining and the sun's out, we're drying. So if we're not raining, we're drying. So we continue to do that. The fuel conditions up here are really extremely dry and have been dry. This moisture is helping, but it's going to take a lot of moisture to get down into that duff layer. So there's those heat sources that continue that are down into that duff layer that when the conditions are right with sun, heating of the fuels, drying of what moisture we have, plus a receptive fuel bed to where this thing comes out, hits a receptive fuel bed, starts some torching in the trees, throws embers. If it finds that receptive fuel, meaning all the vegetation out there, and it has an avenue with wind direction and pushing those fires with that right condition, it has a chance to move. Looking ahead, doing some prolonged modeling, there is some movement showing out there, but it's all science-based. Mother Nature's going to dictate what's going to happen over the next course of a few weeks.
How much this has been contained at all, or any of these fires?
So across all fire footprints, we are at 53% containment, and that accounts for all fires within the whole complex or the whole incident here. And that's taken on an average. There is some priority areas that may show a little higher containment, but for an average across the footprint, it's 53%.
Like, what will it take?
Yes.
So we'll negotiate a special session. It will mean, once that agreement is made, me officially calling that back, the legislature to come in. They will convene, and we will do the business work, and they will sine die out and go back. And the question, as I said again, look, I talked about a special session for different things. We talked about a special session around guns and things. I'm not going to be talking about that for this one because I think it makes it more difficult to get this done. I think there's important things, and Republican leadership had ideas they wanted to talk about in the special session. So it'll be coming up with that agreement. We'll have to decide all the corners, the Senate, the House, the Democrats, the Republicans, and then bring them back. I would assume we would try and shoot for a one-day special session to try and get done what needed to be done. It could be as simple as coming in, extending the special session and going on, but I don't know. This would be one where I think there's at least an opportunity. Representative and Senator started the conversation last week around the roundtable of economic. I think plant that seed at least.
And then what's it like to see people leaning up against each other? I know you're just saying that you're going to go see some of the volunteers later on, but I mean, you've seen this kind of thing before, especially in small communities like Ely.
Yeah, it never surprises me, but I said I'm always incredibly grateful for it. And I would just say, as a point of personal privilege here, it certainly doesn't surprise me in the boundary waters of this area, because last month marked the 10th anniversary of my brother being killed in the blowdown up here. And my nephew was severely injured and probably by all accounts should have died had it not been for people paddling through severe weather in the middle of the night to put him on a canoe, paddle him out, and get him on a helicopter and save his life over in Duluth. For a stranger in that case. And so for me, it's always been very personal. This is, again, a place where our family spent a lot of time. It's places we went. Now it's a place that, while holds tragedy, holds a lot of hope for me. I saw what those people did. People risked their lives to get my nephew and my brother's body out of there. And that's exactly what they're doing, would do now, and working together. So it's in times of tragedy we find out who we are, and I think Minnesota continues to do that. I again, am incredibly grateful for people. Again, I want to stress this, that you've got these incredible properties, and they've been in your families and your livelihood and things, and to be asked to just leave it and hope that it doesn't burn up, boy, that is a big act of faith. And people have done it, and they've done it to protect lives, and it allows us to truly protect those properties. So I think these stories need to be told, and I again, at a time where it's so easy to find division, I think it's really important to understand we all hate that these fires are happening. Our Canadian friends hate that they're happening, but they're there to help us, and their people are going through the same thing we're going through, and I think we're stronger together. And this idea of local, state, federal, international, all working together. If I would have heard this was 53% contained and we had no serious injuries 3 weeks ago, I would have found that hard to believe. And granted, we got some good breaks, but I think you heard from this, what we think is a lot of rain is not a lot of rain when we're in drought. And so I think people think it rains, it's going to, like putting on a campfire, it's going to put it out. We know that campfire smolders too when you put it on there. So we got work to do. It's going to go on for a while, but I'm with everybody here that when the decision is right, based on safety, and we'll never ask anybody to make a decision before it's safe to do so, but if we can get some of these folks back out on the water, get things open, get these hotel rooms booked, that's a really good thing. So I'm glad to hear that, and we're certainly going to tell people you can come up here, and there's lots of things to do. And it's a day like today. It's not 100 like it was in St. Paul today. So
I was hoping you could clarify. There's been a lot of attention on the idea that these fires could be burning until the snow falls. This is going to be a long fight. Could you clarify a little bit? I mean, you're not talking like it's going to take until the snow falls to get full containment, right? But rather there still could be some fire in the duct on the landscape?
Yeah, correct. So talking about like what we call a season-ending event. That's a term that's used in the fire world. We're waiting on that significant weather. We've had these patterns of rain. That's helping, you know, and I wish I had the crystal ball to shake here and say this is when it's going to end, but I don't. The concern is the amount of duff that's burning. We'll see these lulls like today, you know, there's not going to be a lot of smoke apparent, but as we get into a few days of drying, you're going to start to see some of that, some of the smoke, some of those heat indicators that's going to start to show. With that, I do want to add, there's still a lot of lightning. We had a lot of ground strikes last night. So we have a huge IA contingent that is in the area and available for that response. But our primary focus is, you know, looking at those key areas to where we can get, one, the challenge of getting resources into those areas. That's a challenge. And making sure for their safety that we're able to support them and get them in the right places to be able to get those areas where some may be against the water and it's very cold and we can show that contained. But there's areas, those pockets to where we get into an erratic, you know, a dry condition like you guys experienced early in July. And I want to be mindful that, you know, you guys are just now going into your fire season. August and September are your peak fire season. So we're way ahead of the game on that, but we're putting forth a lot of effort to get out there and look for those key areas that could pose additional threats in the future. And so there's a lot of focus towards that now. I know our initial focus was life and property, and we're still focused there. We're still moving forward, but we're looking at shifting some of those gears to say, are there areas we can go out, we can take care of some of these significant areas that could present problems?